All right. Well, thanks for having me tonight. And yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of some of the steps that my wife, Talia, and I went through to build our house. We started building this house a couple of years ago, and we had to put it on the fast track because we had that little one coming along. So we wanted to get it done quick, but we got it done in about 9 months. So, all right. So that's the house there. This is we've got the all the windows here. They're all facing south, and one of the nice things about doing new home construction is that you can choose the solar orientation and take advantage of passive solar heating. And let's see here. And I'll get to that in another slide here. But so the original green builders, I think something that I've taken inspiration from is looking at what our ancestors have done for their housing needs. And, pretty green stuff. Everything's already gone back into the earth for the most part, except for a few foundations here and there. And there's a few things that we can learn from them. One is you want to use materials that are locally available. There's a lot of ways to build where you're, using wood, which there's lots of wood around here, or where you're using the soil beneath your feet, or you're using rocks. Another thing is building small and simple. A lot of times our ancestors lived in nice little small log cabins, some small earth huts there, teepees. Those are the things to keep in mind. You really don't need a lot to live in. Another thing is to use the sun to your advantage. That could be passive solar heating. That could be staying out of the heat of the summer sun. You can take advantage of trees, generous overhangs on your roof, things like that to keep the sun out of your house when you don't want it, and south-facing windows to keep the sun in your house when you do want it in the wintertime. And then you want something to capture that heat, some sort of a thermal mass in your house. We've got a concrete floor with a decent amount of earth below it to capture that heat, and then an insulating layer of pumice underneath that. Another thing that you can pick up from the people that came before us, you want to think about the full life cycle of all the materials that you're going to use. Think about where they're coming from, what kind of technologies and repercussions that's having on the environment to bring those things into being, and then what effect that's going to have on you when you're using it, and then what's going to happen when it's done its job. Is it going to go back into the earth, or is it going to be our children's responsibility to take care of? And the last thing is do it yourself, or have some friends do it for you. Really, a lot of the people that came before us, they were jacks of all trades. They knew how to do lots of different things directly related to their survival, and house building was one of them. Okay, so this is the interior of our house. It's small and simple. Our house is based off of a hexagonal floor plan. So there's lots of open space in the middle. We've got a loft upstairs, and then we've got that floor for thermal mass for the sun to sink into there. We've got a wood stove for heat. We've got electric heaters as well, but we never use them. We just use we just use a wood stove, and then we have plans to hook up the wood stove to hydronic heating, so in-floor radiant heating. But like everything, we've got to take things as they come. Can't get it all done at once. Come on, clicker. And doors and windows. The fixed windows that we have in our house, we just got those through the local glass shop in Hood River on the Heights there, and they got their glass from Cardinal, which is based in Odell there. And I built the frames myself for that, which is really easy for fixed windows. And then for all the openable windows, we had a local carpenter up in Parkdale make those windows for us. It was actually a lot cheaper to have him build basic openable windows than to have, to go to Home Depot and buy, even vinyl windows through them. We also had him make our doors, just simple wooden doors. And again, that was cheaper than buying new ones. And we used a recycled door on our front door. The roof and siding. So the roof is made out of metal. We chose metal because it was quick. We had we had a baby coming on the way, and I was really kind of wanting to do either wooden shingles or maybe clay tile, but there wasn't time for that, and I was worried about the fire danger as far as wood shingles goes. And metal is very recyclable and reusable, and it lasts a long time. Now the siding is just boards that we got from our neighbor who has a sawmill. So it's all rough sawn lumber. The interior is the same thing. It's all just rough sawn lumber. None of it's treated, none of it's stained. It's just bare wood, minimal amount of processing. And you can see that we are using Tyvek. I couldn't think of any way to seal the house really well that was going to really keep out the drafts and keep it somewhat energy efficient. So we did use some Tyvek on there. For insulation, we use sheep's wool. There's a company down in Eugene, Oregon called Oregon Shepherd, and what they do is they go around to all the different shepherds and they get the cuttings off of the sheep that they can't mill into fabric. So all the short pieces, they collect those up, clean them a little bit, and then they sell them as an insulation product, which is more or less comparable to regular insulation. But there's a lot of advantages to it. Deals with moisture really well. It doesn't put off any toxic fumes. Bug resistant, and it's compostable. It'll just go back into the earth when we're done using the house. So this is me blowing the insulation in. You can use a standard blowing machine to put the insulation in, or they have it in bats as well. The house is post and beam here, so you don't see the vertical 2x4s like you do in a regular house. So like I said, this is a timber frame house, and this is the structure of the house before we put up the walls. And we got all of our wood for the house from our neighbors who have a sawmill. And they use pretty good practices getting their timber, and they're friends of ours, and multi-generational sawmill family. And we didn't use any plywood at all in this house. This is all wood from their mill. These are a few slides of me putting up the timber frame here. I didn't use any big fancy machines. I just, rigged up some ropes, and I had a background with rock climbing, so having that knowledge kind of helped out a little bit. And but yeah, I just used a little ingenuity to get these big posts and beams up, and actually that was the most fun part of the job for me. Now the foundation. The foundation uses a pier system. So rather than having a big stem wall that that's going to take up a lot of concrete, there's just concrete posts under where the posts sit, and in between those we made a mortared rock wall, and then in between, within that rock wall we just put in a bunch of dirt and rubble and things like that to build up the height. So there's a very minimal amount of concrete involved in the structure here. And it was all dug by hand, and it really didn't take that long to dig it by hand. And so yeah, how you can do it yourself. One is start reading books. There's so much information out there on the internet and through regular print books that you can get from the library. You might want to order some for reference. Another thing is, don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. Just get it done. And the most important thing in my view was just to get in there and get it done fast. Another thing that I found helpful was to practice on smaller buildings first. So we built a a storage shed, and I built a little workshop out of strawbale, and the workshop was really fun. That was all logs that I had pulled out of the woods and straw bales, and I built a foundation out of earth bags, and that was a neat little experiment. And then I built the structure here, which is a chicken shed. I built that for like $60, and just straw bales and mud for you cover the straw bales with mud that you have lying around on your property there. And the straw bale workshop, that we were actually able to live out of that for a few months. It's 200 square feet, and it cost us less than $600 to build that. So you can build really cheaply if you're willing to go really small and get most of the materials yourself. And last thing, accept the fact that you're not going to have a life while you're doing this. It's a lot of long hours, and but it's really, really fun. So one of the more fun things I've ever done in my life, except being married to my lovely wife and having this lovely baby here. All right. Thanks a lot, folks.